You are now tuned in to a Talk and Shop Patreon community podcast.
This is the BumpNFeed.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the BumpNFeed podcast. Coming off of a hot weekend of professional wrestling, I'm riding with my co-host, as always, CJ Gallows, Cabana. What's up, guys? How are you?
What's up, man? I'm doing well. Just got back in from the pool. As you can see, my big estate here behind me. Podcast world has been good to me.
Beautiful. CJ,
I'm lagging. Am I here?
Oh,
You're
been
here.
buddy.
It's that South Georgia Wi-Fi, man.
Yeah, we know.
The day that there's no audio or technical difficulties, I should say, is the day that we're no longer on the Talk and Shop network.
Yeah, I mean, we have to keep up the bad service. We're gonna have to find a new network because then we'll just be kind of showing up the rest of the guys, I guess.
Yeah, we don't want to do that. We like our home here.
No, it's a great place. It's a great place.
Cade, I know you had a huge weekend. If you want to jump into that, kind of tell us about it. I know you were on the road with your dad Friday night and Saturday night. So how was that?
It was great. It was good. Obviously, the machine gun is still on his luxurious vacation coming off of a big tour in Japan. So the Gallows mini tour included me, CJ, his son, this weekend. Friday night, we were at SWL in a street fight, actually, against D-Money and Michael Stevens. Wasn't supposed to be a street fight, but D-Money punched me in the balls again and got disqualified. But, you know, we couldn't leave the good people of Warner Robins with such a flat ending, so it turned into a good old-fashioned Warner Robins street fight, and we walked away victorious, of course, hitting the Magic Killer through a plywood table chair bridge sort of deal. And then Saturday night, we went over to Hope Championship Wrestling, another great wrestling promotion down here local to Georgia, and we wrestled Fry Daddy along with his partner. Blanking on the name, sorry, brother. But we, again, walked away victorious and punched my ticket next month in July for the Jody Sellers heavyweight title. So I am now in contention for that next month. So around this time next month, maybe I'll have some gold around my waist I can bring on the podcast and show you how cool I am. But other than that, and other big news in wrestling, actually in Georgia as well, the debut of Avery Styles, the son of AJ Styles. Obviously, AJ, a friend of Talking Shop, a good friend of Dad and Carl. I watched the match actually in its entirety last night. I thought he looked great. Awesome gear, look cool. I mean, you've seen the clips of the slide under the guardrail, phenomenal forearm, and obviously AJ getting in there with him and hitting the Styles Clash. So being a local guy, Avery, I'm sure him and I are going to get the chance with the history of our fathers to get in there together. So I'm looking forward to that. So big things. I've definitely had my eye on both of those guys. His opponent, I believe he goes by Forever Young Ashton Martin, another great talent here in the local Georgia scene. So I look forward to getting the chance to get in the ring with both of those guys, hopefully soon. So yeah, big things this weekend for the Georgia wrestling scene and wrestling as a whole, Emerson.
Yeah, it was. I watched the tape, the little highlight clips, whatever you want to call it. Man, he looked like $1,000,000 out there. The kid showed up with a good-looking set of gear on, which I guess is to be expected. But yeah, hitting all the little the high spots, everything looked great. I haven't watched the match in its entirety, but the clips that I saw, it looked great. And then I've also seen that he's already booked for some more shows.
Mm-hmm.
Actually booked for a show here in my hometown in, I think, 2 weeks.
Oh, nice. You also go check that out. Is that the one where he's wrestling Lev? I
Yeah,
believe is his name. Yeah, I've seen another guy, another hot guy in the Georgia scene. Not hot in that sense, but hot as in he's got a lot of push behind him. But yeah, that'll be a good one to keep your eye on. I'll definitely be tuning in because those are kind of guys similar. I think Lev's a little bit older, but obviously Avery and I think, are the same age. So that's kind of the group coming up, the next generation of wrestlers from the South. So looking forward to seeing what those guys do and hopefully get to share the ring with all of them. But
yeah. I'm not too familiar with Lev, but he just main evented the same show here about, I don't know, 2.5 weeks ago,
Mhm.
and he worked the main event against Nick Nemeth here, and then obviously in 2 weeks' time he's got Avery, so it should be a good one to check out.
Absolutely. Can you imagine the pressure that Avery is under? I mean, I don't think people talk about that enough. For him to go out and execute the way he did, I mean, I'm a basketball fan, so it's kind of like Bronny James. It doesn't get much better than AJ Styles in the sense of professional wrestling. And to go out there and have to, I mean, live up to that the best that you can, especially your first match all over social media. Everybody's seen the clips. So I can't imagine. I mean, hats off to him for going out there and being able to execute the way he did with the pressure and the eyes of the wrestling world. Because obviously, my dad is a big guy who he's not going to wow you with the flashy technical. It's more of a brawler kind of style, and he's also a tag guy. So for me, being completely different build and everything, there's not as much pressure. But him being so similar in size to his dad, and his dad being AJ Styles, I can't imagine. So hats off to him.
Yeah, I would agree. I think like the only thing that I could compare it to, would be like David Flair or the late Reed Flair having to step in for Rick. Obviously, kind of like you said, you're a totally different style than your dad. And then Charlotte coming in behind Rick, I don't feel like the pressure was, as heavy as it was for David or Reed. So yeah, I can't imagine Avery, having to go out there and make his debut, knowing that the whole world, essentially is watching because his clips are everywhere. All the wrestling websites have it. They're all covering it. They all covered the build to it. And I agree. I think he did a good job. I think he looked good. His gear looked good. The few clips that I saw, I have not had the pleasure of watching the whole match, but what I did see, everything looked super crisp. It looked really good.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. The amount of pressure that he's under, I would compare it to probably like a Dominic Mysterio, somebody who's got a hell of a pair of boots to fill, and in that shadow, being a second generation guy against AJ Styles or Mysterio, who are two of the greatest in ring guys there are. So
absolutely.
Yeah, Emerson, you Saturday. You went to the big card expo with Gallows. I know I was supposed to be down there with you guys, but I had a jiu-jitsu event I had to attend. So how was the card show?
it was great, man. It was awesome. The meet and greets and things like that are always fun. Obviously, we sit back and shoot the breeze between taking pictures and signing autographs and everything else. But a great turnout. The guys that put on the Flip Trade Show, obviously good friends with Gallows. They do a hell of a show. I did this show with them last year, came back again this year. Great turnout. It seems to be getting bigger and bigger every year. We had a good fan interaction. One girl came up and she just broke out in tears. She was crying. It was pretty awesome, man. It's cool to see those people when you can make that kind of a connection at a meet and greet or something like that. Those moments like that are always cool.
I think so. To transition here a little bit, Cade, you said you put D Money, my boss, through a table. Is he gonna make
a piece of plywood actually, but it was it took the role for the table. Yeah, we set up 2 chairs and made the little bridge. And
is he gonna be at Lariato the 11th? Because I do kind of need him there.
well, I'm sure he's going to be there. D Money is kind of a hardcore, I guess, guy at this point. A lot of experience in the hardcore game, so he's used to that aspect of the business that I necessarily am not. So I'm sure he will be there. But I do think there's some serious considering to do on what side you're going to pick. Now that we're podcast co-hosts and also good close personal friends, and your boss is after my ball sack, so
I know.
you know
Yeah, we may have to have a conversation off air.
might have
And
to have a little come to Jesus with D's. If you can't leave my bag alone, you're going to have to join the right side of history.
yeah, we'll have to. I think the 11th will be a very, very interesting show.
The
Well, we have to see what happens with that, and then you're working John Schuyler, who wrestled earlier today.
Yep. John, shout out to John Schuyler, by the way. I know we're having a match on the 11th, and I have every intentions on beating him in the ring, but huge shout out to him tonight, having, to this point, I think the biggest match of his life live on pay-per-view. Doesn't get much better than a ladder match with the Hardy Boys on a pay-per-view. A match that they made so famous and kind of changed the business, I would say, with those early TLC and ladder matches. And for John to get the chance to go in there at Slammiversary on pay-per-view and be a part of a match like that is awesome for him. But I hope he comes off as high and snaps back into reality that he has to face me on July 11th in Dublin, Georgia for Lariato, where I will walk out victorious, and it'll be another little check mark and little thing on my resume as we keep building on this journey. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Not going to overshadow the big day he had today, even though he didn't come out victorious. Still awesome that he had that opportunity anyways, and I can't wait for that match on the 11th.
Yeah, I'd love to get into the Slammiversary because again, it is now over. But can you bring that graphic back up, Emerson? Look how good we look on that.
Yes, there's the graphic.
Look at that, man. I look great. You look great. That's kind of all that matters, huh?
I mean, yeah, as long as we look good, the rest doesn't really matter.
At some point, I'm predicting in the near future we're going to see our host actually, Emerson, here on this poster very soon.
Oh yeah, we'll make that happen.
I think so.
You never know, man. You never know. I had somebody ask me yesterday if I was wrestling, and I said, no, not yet. But we'll see. You never know. Never say never.
Never say never in the wrestling business.
Absolutely.
But shout out to John Schuyler, man. I think this was also John Schuyler's 5-year anniversary, I believe, signing with TNA.
Yeah, today was actually a big day. I spoke to John on the actual Talking Shop podcast, the main one. I think it was 5 years to the day he signed, and also it's his mom's birthday. So shout out to Mrs. Schuyler. I'm sure she was very proud. Not much better of a birthday gift I can imagine for her other than watching her son walking into the biggest match of his career to this point. So all good things for John Schuyler, but all good things have to come to an end, and they will come to an end July 11th in Dublin, Georgia, when he is looking up at the lights. But, we're not going to get too much into that because I don't want to put him down too much.
Yeah, you can just let your wrestling do the talking for you. But very excited about Heatwave 26. Again, July 11th. They're in our hometown, essentially, or Lariato's hometown, rather, of Dublin, Georgia.
Absolutely.
Got our former guest, Bryce Cannon, on the card.
Mm-hmm.
Got some of the ladies from WOW coming down. Johnny Swinger, I believe, will be there. Fry Daddy, you mentioned him. He's a staple.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
There in Lariato. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the NWA titles, tag titles, will be defended at our show.
Yeah, the Country Gentlemen will be in action. So Heatwave 26 is going to be very exciting for Lariato as a brand, but also a lot of big things for the Bump and Feed podcast. A lot of stuff we want to get done for you while we're going to be there, because it is one of the rare times with us living far away from each other that we will be together. At least Cabana and I know. We're still waiting on confirmation with Emerson, but a lot of good content hopefully to come for you guys. So be on the lookout for that. So July 11th is going to be a big day.
Yeah, get your tickets before they're all gone. Get your tickets. TheLPWG.com. I'm not sure if there's any ringside tickets left, but there are tickets still available. Get them while they last.
Absolutely. But, we have a lot of wrestling from this weekend to cover. Emerson, you're the captain of the ship, so do you want to bring us into some of the exciting stuff from over the weekend?
Dude, Night of Champions. So I had to stay off of social media yesterday. I was with your dad, so I didn't get on anything. So I didn't get any spoilers. So I came home, I watched it, and man, I heard a lot of complaints about this show. I, for one, didn't think it was terrible. Maybe not the outcomes that everybody wanted, but I thought it was top to bottom. It was I'll give it a 7.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought the same. I mean, for me, was it predictable? For the most part, I absolutely did not see the main event happening. I wouldn't have called that personally, especially with the way that it went down, which we'll get to. I don't want to spoil anything quite too bad for anybody that may not have watched. But again, I thought the show was pretty fine. I think every single show's going to be a WrestleMania caliber show. That's you're just setting yourself up for disappointment.
Yep.
But yeah, I'd probably go around the same 6 is probably what I would stay at.
I'm gonna agree with y'all. I'm gonna meet in the middle and play devil's advocate and give it a 6.5. No, but I'm with you, Cabana. Sorry, I think a lot of wrestling fans, they don't realize that not every show is gonna be WrestleMania caliber, because you have 12 months of storytelling that you have to tell a story to build up, obviously, to your biggest show. So along the way, along that journey, because everything always through the year builds to WrestleMania, there's going to be the highs and there's going to be the lows. So there's going to be some shows that are absolutely incredible. There's going to be some shows that are okay, and some that fans are disappointed by. And I don't think that saying Night of Champions was bad would be a fair take. I was actually watching it from my phone while I was at my show. I would say for the most part, predictable in a sense, but also there was a lot of 50-50s for me. But I enjoyed the show. I didn't think it was bad at all.
No. So I guess we can start with the leadoff match was Oba and Jay for Men's King of the Ring.
Yep.
That went virtually exactly how I thought it would.
Yeah.
I think the only way that in my mind, if Jay was going to win, I thought maybe Brock might run in for some interference to set up Oba and Brock for SummerSlam. But I'm kind of wondering if that's not going to be the direction they're going to go in. But I thought the match itself for both performers, I thought it was about as good as you're going to get out of them. It's not to insult either one of them. I tell you, the Saudi crowd, the over here in the States, they could learn a lot. Those people are super enthusiastic, very into it, singing every song, which seems to become the new thing. But I thought they were on fire, especially for that match. So yeah, I thought, again, predictable. I thought it went about how it would, but I did not think it was bad. That's not a slight against it or anything.
No, absolutely. Yeah, if you kind of were going into it thinking Jay was going to win, maybe you knew something that we didn't. But yeah, it was very clear and obvious that Oba was probably going to win that match. Obviously, he's the guy that kind of want to carry the torch, I think, into the next generation, along as other guys with it. But he is the main guy as of right now. But I don't want to spoil too much, but my mind immediately went to a scenario of how they can play off of this. But I will give my take on that when we get toward the main event. But yeah, I thought fine match. Did anybody see? I saw a couple videos on Twitter. The controversial, did Oba just tap out when he was in that sleeper, and he looked like he was trying to kind of fire up the crowd, or maybe whatever, and he started slapping his hand on the mat, and some people were discrediting his ring awareness or wrestling IQ and said it kind of looked like he tapped out. Did anybody catch that?
I saw the headline. I didn't look into it. I honestly did not catch it in the moment.
Yeah.
So, Emerson, if you caught it, give us your take on that and the match itself.
Yeah, I did. So I was sitting there watching it, and I saw Oba kind of reach over. He's hitting the canvas, and Lindsay looks and said he just tapped, and I said, oh, he's trying to get the crowd going. But he did tap a little fast. It kind of made it look like he was tapping out. And there for a second, I was like, something's wrong. Of course, Jay's not tapping out Oba Femi.
No.
I wouldn't think. But overall, man,
Yeah.
I thought it was a great match. I feel like at the same time, sometimes Jay is being forced down people's throat. I think a lot of people see it that way, kind of like Roman was back in the day, John Cena was back in the day. I think we could have saw a much better match with, and I'm not hating or anything, but I would have much rather seen Javon Evans versus Oba.
Yeah, I think that's something though that they could save for later on. Maybe, in
Yeah.
this kind of run where Oba is essentially unbeatable, there has to be, a guy that can beat him, and maybe they play off of Javon Evans being that underdog kind of character later on down the road because they have that history in NXT. Who knows? But
Yeah.
I saw a lot of people hating on Oba for that. I mean, the guy got caught up to the main roster in April, and now he is in the position that he's in. He is still learning as he's going. He's new in professional wrestling. He's only a couple years in, so he's only going to get better. I think if you're not a hardcore fan, you didn't catch it, and if you did, you didn't think anything of it. But of course, the online wrestling community jumps on every little thing, so I didn't have any ill feelings towards Oba because of it. Just one of those things that happens in the midst of a match.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And then so I guess ESPN had the rights to air both the King and Queen of the Ring, I guess it's called. So Liv and Io were up next. From the get go, I never understood how Liv Morgan made it this far. She's already a champion, so
Yeah.
I don't know why she was even inserted into that. However, I think right at the beginning when she came out and Danhausen came out and cursed her, I think immediately everyone kind of knew which way the match was going and maybe checked out a little bit. I know I personally did. I thought the match itself was fine. It was about as good as you're going to get out of them. Again, not an insult to them. I think they're both fine workers. But I think personally, Danhausen comes out and curses somebody or curses somebody before the match. I think you're kind of killing it for the crowd because then again, they immediately know, well, the other person's going down. As far as the ending and EO winning, I don't know how far, or I don't know where Rhea is in her recovery. I don't think, to my knowledge, and correct me one you guys if something's been said about it, but I don't think anything's really been said about the extent of her injury or how long she's out. I do know she got injured on the European tour, and I thought back at WrestleMania, I thought they were going to go for the EO Rhea split. I think that'll be a good match. I don't know if they're going to go that route or if they're going to have her, um, challenge for the other title. I really don't know exactly where you're going with that. Or do they have her, just challenge Liv and rematch that at SummerSlam?
I agree with you. Liv already having a title, it was like, why is she in this spot? But I do think because of, the story with Charlotte and Tiffany and, Rhea being out, you kind of want to have your biggest female star, and that probably is Liv Morgan on a pay-per-view like that, especially in Saudi Arabia with WrestleMania going there, and rumors of a possible sale to the Saudi Arabian whatever group that may be. So I think it was more of, we want her out there. I would think just because she's the most over, and they can have a good match, and that. But yeah, with how powerful and how over that Danhausen curse stuff is right now, as soon as that happened, you knew the outcome of the match. So I didn't exactly love that. I think it was more of a way to protect Liv in a weird sense. Maybe they didn't want to pin her clean, that curse element added. And I had no problems with the match. I did kind of check out once the curse was put on because you kind of knew the finish that was going to happen, but no problems. Thought it was a fine match. So King of the Ring and Queen of the Ring, both for me, no complaints. I think it was well done. Obviously, King of the Ring, there's been so many iconic moments from that, it's going to be hard to top, but I thought it was fine, both.
Yeah, I thought it was great. Liv Morgan, I mean, dude, you got to take your hat off to her. I mean, the way that she has grown over the last, several years in the business has been insane. Io Sky, in my opinion, probably one of the best female wrestlers in the world.
Absolutely.
Always fun to watch. She's great at high flying. She's a hell of a worker. Anytime you see her in the ring with just about anybody, you know it's going to be a banger. So no complaints at all, top to bottom. Great match. But after that match was one that I was really wanting to see, and that was the Seth Rollins Braun Breaker match inside the
Yeah.
steel cage. Great match there. Braun Breaker, man, looks like a stud. I mean, this guy. I said it years and years ago when he first went up to WWE or NXT at the Performance Center. I said, man, this guy's got what it takes to be a star. And I think Braun Breaker, after that showing Saturday, he's well on his way to being that star, being that WrestleMania main eventer.
I had something that immediately came to mind after seeing the outcome of the match, and I'd love to hear you guys' take on it. The trajectory of the Braun Breaker original push, through the Vision, breaking up with the Vision, it kind of seemed like it was destined for a world title later this year, early next year. Do you think that, and obviously, Seth can do great things with anybody, but do you think the reason that Braun does not finish this and go on to something with a victory is because of the recent surge of an Oba Femi and maybe the title run that they had planned for the new superstar and Braun Breaker, they changed and said, all right, let's go with Oba. And so this loss to Seth can kind of be a little roadblock for Braun to have to reset and, maybe go into something a little different while Oba gets that title push kind of run that they maybe had planned with Braun?
I agree with it 100%. I mean, I've said it from day one. Sometimes I feel like these NXT call-ups come a little too soon. NXT, obviously, two of the biggest ones in my opinion is when they pulled Vicaire and Julia at the same time. Probably their two biggest female stars at that time. But Braun Breaker had so much momentum behind him. I believe well on his way to becoming a world champion. Then with the Oba call up, that may have pushed Braun's plans or WWE's plans for him to be a world champion to the wayside because of the Oba call up.
There is 2 world titles, though. I just don't see 2 young guys so early on into their career on their main roster holding the belts on both brands. I think you're going to kind of maybe you go in the direction of Oba having one, but then kind of keeping one on a vet like a Roman, like a Cody, Gunther, someone more experienced.
Yeah.
So for this match, I'm just gonna give my honest take, and again, it's not at all shitting on it. But first off, when the show started and they showed, they're zooming out and showing the big arena and all that, I saw the cage up top. I had no idea there was a cage match on the show, let alone who it was. And Lacey and I are sitting there watching it, and I'm like, "Who the hell's in a cage match?" And she didn't know either. And she honestly, week to week, watches pretty much every show from top to bottom. And she didn't know either. But so I want to touch real quick on what you just said, Cade. Is Oba becoming the bigger star than Braun? And I want to kind of ask something that I've thought a few times. Are they hesitant to put it on him because he has had a lot of injuries? Or I won't say a lot. He's had a number of injuries since he's come onto the main roster that have caused him to miss, I wouldn't say significant time, but enough time to where, again, maybe the upper, the officials or front office or whatever's thinking like, this guy, I don't want to say he's injury prone, but he gets injured a lot because, Vince was known to to not pull the trigger on people or to pull the title off of people and never give them a push again. If you look at Finn Balor was a guy, Vince's line of thinking, this guy gets hurt too much. Do you think possibly that, again, the office is thinking that with Braun Breaker and that's the reason for the delay in his push?
I think, yes, I agree with what you said. I think it was probably the moment I know nothing. This is just me and my fantasy booking. My mind's always racing when it comes to wrestling. I think they saw Braun Oba, have that match at Mania against Brock, and I think that's where he took a step ahead of Braun because Braun was not. I think he came out on the card, if I'm correct, but he didn't have a match. Mm-hmm. So I think with him having the Mania match and Braun not, due to injury, even though he came back later on looking jacked to the gills. But I think that's probably kind of that time frame. They were like, okay, well, we had the plans maybe for this guy, but he's not available. And the crowd is really, really starting to get behind Oba. Maybe we go in a route where we kind of take Oba with that title reign, whatever the plan was for Braun, and Braun's still going to be in a main event spot. It's not like his career is over. He's just maybe taking a little step back, which, might be good because he's so young. He gets a chance to work with more guys and become more seasoned in the ring. And then by the time they want to pull the trigger on that title run that's going to eventually happen, we all know it, it will be better. It'll mean more.
I think so, yeah. And so as far as my, opinions on the match, I thought the match was good. Again, not trying to be the negative guy, but I do think that they've wrestled so many times on, pay-per-views or PLEs is the new buzzword, Raw. Like how many times can you have a different match? And I think the cage kind of helped give them an opportunity to do just that. But one thing I do want to point out, and it kind of alludes to the injuries. Braun got busted open in this one. I can, and this is something that Lacey brought up. Like, I can't recall a time where these two guys have had a match and someone's not gotten either hurt or busted. And to circle back on that, I think Braun wrestles so intense because I think it's probably part of who he is, but also I think that's part of the character that they have him playing. And there's been so many times with the spear or the Breakensteiner or things like that where I'm just like, Jesus, man, like he's so close to getting like seriously injured and missing like significant time.
It's one of those too, because when you bring up the word injury prone, Seth Rollins is in that conversation. Obviously, that knee injury has given him trouble throughout his career. And I think with the style that Braun Breaker wrestles, it's that reckless abandonment, not so much to like a Jeff Hardy where he's diving off ladders, but everything is so intense and so physical. And that's probably just who he is. He was a running back all the way through college and even spent some time with the Baltimore Ravens. So I think he only knows one speed, and that's go. And, Seth's been in this game for probably 20 plus years now, so his body's weathered. So that stuff, that high impact style that Braun wrestles, I think it's good to get these guys away from each other for now, not just because they're putting on bad matches, because, like you said, eventually something's going to give. Braun's busted up, Seth's body maybe can't take it like it used to. So I do think moving these guys away from each other was a good move. Not a knock to either performer. It's just, timelines didn't, I guess, align for them to really have the program.
Yeah, I would agree. Man, but top to bottom, dude, great guys. Great match.
Yeah.
Main event guys. And speaking of another main event guy for me, future main event guy. Man, what about Trick Willie? Trick Willie and Ricky Saints, man. What do you guys think about that one?
I love Trick. I think he's well on his way. I think people get so high on like the Obas and the Braun Breakers as far as the new generation. Trick's obviously super over right now, but in Javon Evans, they're kind of in that spot where it's like you have four guys with so much unlimited potential, and you just wonder what guy is going to get which spot. Obviously, they're all going to have their moments. They're going to have, main events on pay-per-views and whatnot. But you got four guys right now. I think it's so exciting. We haven't seen in so long where you have four just such good young, and there's more guys coming up through the system that we're not even mentioning, but that's the four main ones that come to mind. So I wonder how they're going to play out. I think Trick will get a little bit of a boost above Javon. Javon, I could see in the next few years being a U.S. title intercontinental guy until, eventually maybe he gets that big push. But I think Trick is well on his way, like we're talking Oba and Braun Breaker, to a good, big future is the best way I can put it. But, guys.
Yeah, so I don't know if it's a hot take or whatever, but I think, and I've thought for months, even after, Oba's recent, seismic shift that I think Trick is going to be the biggest star to come out of those four you mentioned, or three. I don't know that he'll best Braun Breaker long term, but I think Trick personally will be bigger than Oba and Javon. I think he's got definitely not on the same level, but I think he's almost got that Rock charisma, that that intangible. He's so good on the mic. He's a big guy. He looks good. He can talk. I'm not a big fan of the rapper that's with him. Cade, you have to help me on that one. I know
Lil Yachty?
Yeah, I don't know that guy. I've heard the name. Obviously he's big if they're paying him, big bucks to be there because I'm sure he's not cheap.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of that guy being with him. But I think Trick's great in the ring, and also like Oba, he came from NFL, I believe, right?
Oba was a shot putter.
Did he not play for Alabama on football?
I don't believe so. I know he was a shot putter at Alabama. He's so big he might have walked on and played football as well. But I know him from the track and field side.
But Trick, Panthers, is that correct?
Oh, he played for South Carolina Gamecocks. I know that his NFL run, not too
super short, right?
Yeah, super short. I'm not sure exactly who he got a chance with.
Yeah,
but
I think it was the Eagles.
Yeah,
Was
that
it the
sounds
Eagles?
right.
Okay.
Yeah, the Eagles.
Okay. I guess I got the Gamecocks things mixed up. I'm admittedly not the biggest sports guy. That's your area, Cade. But as far as the match goes, I'm gonna try to get back on track with that. Him and Ricky Starks, or Ricky Saints as he's called in WWE. I'll be honest, I didn't watch it. I knew Trick was going to go over. Unfortunately, Ricky, I think he's a good talent, but I think he just kind of got lost in the shuffle with being brought up. I miss, when I was younger, you had months and months of vignettes to get you invested into the character, to kind of tell you, here's who this guy is, here's why he's coming in. He would tell you that, and then by the time he showed up, you either liked or didn't like the guy. And I think today, and I could be wrong, but I think that they rely so much on NXT and think that, well, these NXT people are going to come out. He was a big deal on NXT. Well, you got to think for the casual fan, which I believe is the majority of the person tuning in every night. You and I are all hardcore fans, and we don't watch it, top to bottom, the shows week to week. Whereas the people that do, I don't really think they know, like a Ricky Starks. I don't think they watch NXT enough, and a lot of these people don't even know AEW exists. I'll talk about wrestling at work, and they only know like Raw, SmackDown, and the pay-per-view. They don't know NXT. They've heard of it. They have no idea what AEW is. They didn't know there's another promotion out there, which to me is insane. But I do kind of feel bad for Ricky because he was a pretty big deal in AEW. He came in pretty hot to NXT, and then I'm sure he didn't expect the reaction that he's gotten, which is nothing, which is the worst. You want to be either booed or cheered, and he's not really getting anything coming out. Even last night at Night of the Champions, where the crowd was pretty hot, and they seemed to kind of know more about the product, or at least maybe vocally seemed to care more about it, and he didn't even really get much of a reaction there.
I think, like you mentioned with the vignettes back in the day, another thing, not only did you know the guy and kind of know the character, but almost through the vignettes, you knew, all right, this guy is being built as a top guy. This guy is being built maybe a mid-carder, maybe lower. Obviously, there's room to grow, but you kind of knew what you were getting when the guy came on TV. And like you mentioned, everybody doesn't watch NXT week to week. And I think Ricky just kind of got lost in the, even like an Ethan Page. There's been so many call-ups lately that obviously a huge moment for him to get on that card, and maybe that was a play for him to get some notoriety for those who didn't know him before. But yeah, it's a tough spot. Maybe you could see a character change coming, just something to give him, I guess, something for the audience to connect to and kind of get behind, because now he's just kind of a guy. It's like, all right, he was in NXT. Maybe he was in AEW, but who is Ricky Saints? And I think a character change is probably the best way. Maybe he comes out as just the most over the top heel, because he is a very charismatic guy,
Mm-hmm.
and just starts, goes that route. Just something to give him a reason for the fans to want to boo or love him and to connect with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Man, Ricky, in my opinion, is one of those guys that I said it earlier, called up way too soon. I think that he could have been a big deal had he been in NXT a little bit longer, worked that WWE system a little bit longer, give the fans more time to get familiar with Ricky Saints. But all in all, I mean, it was a great match. Anytime Trick's out there, it's going to be fun. With Cabana, the little yachty stuff. I'm not too familiar on who he is. I do know that he is at a ton of shows. Obviously, I'm pretty sure it's very cool for him to be there to get to do that. And I also understand the celebrity side of it to try to put more eyes on the product. So I kind of understand that. But all in all, man, I thought it was a great match, a hell of a showing for Trick Williams. He's got that kind of rock Booker T style. He's so fun to watch.
Yep.
But leading off of that one into Tiffany Stratton and Jade Cargill, man. Tiffany Stratton is one of those girls that I think came in 2022 to Performance Center. Is not a wrestling fan, did not grow up a fan of the product. I don't think she ever even watched wrestling. But coming off of one of those NIL program deals, and man, how good has she gotten in the ring? And I'm not discrediting Jade at all, but from going from nothing to 4 years into the business, man, she's so good in there.
Yeah. I think she's one of those, obviously, she came in and everybody's like, okay, she looks like a star. Now, can we teach her to be one? And she's blown everyone's minds, I think, because, a lot of times with those NIL deals, you bring in these people, men and women, who aren't necessarily fans of the product. They don't know much about the business, so it's hard for them to kind of adjust compared to someone who's a lifelong fan. Maybe they don't have the athletic or the intangibles that the NI people do. But Tiffany is one of those cases where you can tell she put in the work. She knew this was an avenue she could pursue, and she listened to those who had done it before her, and now she's a megastar. I think she is going to be the woman of the future in that division. Obviously, the fans love her. She's great in the ring. I think this match was just another showing, because a lot of people are quick to jump on Jade Cargill, and I'm not going to do that about her in-ring work. And Tiffany Stratton went out there. They had a good match. So I got nothing but good things to say about Tiffany Stratton.
Yeah, I agree with everything you guys said. I thought the match was pretty good. Agree. Tiffany is, that's a mountain to climb. You come in and you're in an industry where you know nothing about it, unfortunately, for her. But I think she's done well. Like you said, I think you guys, she's exceeded all expectations, and she's earned the respect, of diehards like you and I. I think she's earned the respect of the office and the vets, that are there. With the finish of the match, Chelsea came out. I think that's great. I see, and I could be wrong, but I've talked to several friends about it. I see this kind of going in the, let's see, what year would this have been? 07, I think, WrestleMania 22. The Mickey James, Trish Stratus, like stalker, crazy thing.
Oh, the in love angle or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know that they'll quite go that route. I don't know that in today's climate, I don't think that's what they're going to do. I would be fine with it. Not in a perverted way, but I would be cool with that. I think it's a good way to get Chelsea, who I think is overdue for a character change. I think unfortunately for her, she's kind of, as they say in the movie, she's kind of typecast, and I think she's stuck in that crazy funny role. But I think she's got so much more to offer, and she's like Tiffany in the sense that she's someone who didn't grow up watching the product either. She was, I think, from what I understand and the stuff that I've read and interviews I've listened to, it was a thing where someone told her like, "Oh, hey, you couldn't do this," and she was like, "Sure, I can." And she went out there and did it, and she's doing it at a very high level. She's good in the ring. She's excellent on the mic. She's another person that you can give her anything and she's going to hit a home run with it. So I'm more looking forward to where they go with the Chelsea Green, Tiffany Stratton story coming off that. But I did think it was a good match.
Imagine going from not being a wrestling fan to living with Matt Cardona, where it's just everything is wrestling.
God, dude, their social medias are hilarious. Like Matt's just forever fucking with her and
asking her questions, she has no clue the answer.
Oh yeah. What do you think about Halloween Havoc? And what is that? Like she doesn't know anything, but again, she's great. I love Chelsea Green. I would love to see them put a title on her and get her in a more serious role. I love her comedic role, but at the same time, she can do a lot more. If you remember her in Lucha Underground, I think
with Penta,
was it
yeah.
Reclusa, was that her name? I believe.
Yeah, she had that breakout match with Penta.
Yeah, and at that point she was not very long in the business. I mean years definitely, but not a ton. And she did phenomenal. And her work in TNA, I don't think it gets overlooked by people like us, but the people that don't know, if they were to go back and watch that with an open mind, I mean, she did so well. So yeah, and so yeah, I think we're at the main event now, correct?
And I got some things to say, so y'all go ahead and get your piece out.
Emerson, you lead off. I'll go, and then we'll let Kate go.
If you're watching the video version on YouTube, youtube.com, I'm going to give you a little spoiler here. Man,
look at that.
Love him or hate him. This is the ending picture from Night of Champions. I don't think a lot of people saw it coming. I honestly predicted this. I thought that it would happen. But man, he may not be everybody's favorite wrestler. He may not always look the part. He doesn't look like a Braun Breaker. He doesn't look like a Cody Rhodes. But Sami Zayn is one of those guys, in my opinion, who's worked his ass off through Ring of Honor, through the Indies, into NXT, into WWE on the main roster. He continues to show up. He can put on a hell of a match with a broomstick if he had to. He's great on the mic. I think it's just well deserved, man. It's to get in there with two guys like Gunther and Cody Rhodes, who are obviously main event stars, and Sammy proving that he can hang with somebody like a Cody Rhodes or a Gunther. And like I said, at the end of the day, I think it's well deserved.
Yeah, I think so too. I did not predict this and did not see it coming. I would have picked him to be the last guy to win it. And again, definitely not an insult to Sami Zayn. I'm a big Sami Zayn fan. I liked him when he was El Generico in Ring of Honor, and I've kind of followed his career the whole way. And you said the phrase "love him or hate him," and I think love him or hate him, as a wrestler, you have to respect him. Like he's so good in the ring, and everything they've given, they've given him some shit tasks, like wrestling Johnny Knoxville. And he hit that out of the park. They had him years ago in that heel run when he was the one actually who introduced Logan Paul that night on SmackDown, I believe it was, and he did great. Like he's done great at everything, and again in ring. My personal opinion, you're hard pressed to find someone that you could say, hey, this guy, blows Sami Zayn out of the water in the ring. I think that was a good place to do it in Saudi Arabia. He was clearly the fan favorite there. Not a gripe, but I would have loved to see this happen at Elimination Chamber 23 when it was in Montreal. They had, all the cameras following him. They had so much build up. And the story with the bloodline when he had turned on Roman, I think the story was there more so than ever to make the title change. And that's one of those, Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 12, Cody Rhodes finishing the story, winning at Great American Bash 90. I think that would be one of those moments that everybody always remembered because the story was so good. It was in his hometown. I think that would have been perfect. But as far as the match goes, I thought it was really good. I was more shocked to see Cody take the pin from him. I was certain that if Sammy would have won, obviously it's a triple threat. You're protecting Cody. I didn't see Cody taking the pin. I would have thought that Cody maybe hits his finisher on Gunther, rolls him out of the ring, and Sammy somehow comes in and wins after that. Did not see this happening, but I was a big fan of it. So I'm excited to hear Cade's take on this and his opinions.
I'm not coming on. You guys probably think I'm coming in here to bury it. Not at all. I did predict it. What I think it is you have a guy built as this underdog, right? For so long, the underdog, Sami Zayn, whatever, it had to be paid off eventually. You alluded to Elimination Chamber. It could have been paid off, but, it got more time to build. And I think it had to be paid off eventually. And obviously, he is a man of the Muslim faith in Saudi Arabia. So the favorite is there. He comes out wearing the I'm not sorry. I'm not trying. I don't know what it's called, the terminology for that. And I think you're not gonna find a guy that has given more to the business than Sami Zayn. Guys like him and Kevin Owens came up through the Indies, did it the hard way, I guess. When in an age of NIL, when some people think it's a little bit easier to break through, they did not have that luxury. So hard to find a more deserving guy. And like Cabana said, sorry. Like you had mentioned, you can't have a bad match. Sami Zayn doesn't have bad matches. So I don't hate it from that standpoint, but I don't think it's going to be a long reign. I think it's more of a transitional run to set up to something bigger. Maybe you're looking at a Cody heel turn. Maybe Cody needed time off, whatever it may have been. But this is where my mind started rolling because I do think he's going to be that transitional champ. I think they might ditch the Brock Oba at SummerSlam. Hear me out. Brock Lesnar comes out, beats Sammy for the world title. You play with that for a little bit. Maybe Oba wins the Rumble. Oba Brock for the belt. Oba wins, and that's where Brock Lesnar retires. That's where mind went. I have no sources that say that's true or not, but I think that's a good way they could play off that. But I just don't see it being a long Sami Zayn title run, and I also don't see Cody coming back and beating him again at SummerSlam or Gunther, to be quite honest with you. So I could see it something to where Brock, because Brock calls his own shots. Maybe Paul Heyman comes out there during a Sami Zayn's promo and says, the beast is here or whatever, and Brock wants the chance at the belt in his hometown in Minneapolis at SummerSlam, beat Sami Zayn, and maybe you play off that with Obafemi. Just a possibility, though.
Yeah, I think he could do that. I'm not going to go deep into it because I haven't read about it and I don't know enough to speak on it. But I have read a lot of stuff that Oba wins night 1 and then challenges Brock at night 2. I don't really know how that works. Again, I have not read into it, and I'm not going to waste any time on that. But I have heard that as a possibility. I'll tell you quickly, the thing that excited me, aside from the rest of the show, but I was really stoked to see Gunther and Nick Aldis get very physical I guess during like the post show. I didn't watch the post show, but I saw on social media. I would love to see Nick Aldis get in the ring in WWE. I was really hoping. I think it was a couple of years ago, or maybe last WrestleMania, the year before, that they were going to go. It seemed to be heavily teased Nick Aldis and Randy Orton. But I would love to see Nick Aldis and Gunther. I think that would be a great match. Nick Aldis looks like $1 million. I know we use that term over and over, but he looks so good and he can go in the ring. I've seen him go live many times. I would love to see that. Just a quick little note at the end of the show there.
Yeah, I would agree. I would love to see Nick Aldis get in there and mix it up. I think he well deserves it. He's had a long career. He's never had that WWE that big match. So I would like to see it, even if it's a one-off for Aldis.
Yeah. Is it I don't know, we've hit on just about everything as far as Night of Champions. Is it for time for our favorite segment, Question of the Week, or do we have anything else we want to talk about?
The only thing that I want to add before we do this is next week we're going to hit on everything else that's happening this weekend. A lot of wrestling this weekend, AEW, TNA, NXT. We'll touch on all of that next week, and all of that will drop. So we had to come in and do this Night of Champions recap. But I'm good with the question segment. If you guys want to shoot your shot,
Okay.
Yeah, I'll throw it out there real quick. Favorite wrestling ring announcer all time, male, female, doesn't matter the company. I'll go first. Let you guys think. Even though he has, at this moment, he didn't say no. I'm going to go Gary Michael Capetta is my favorite. And Howard Finkel was close behind, obviously showing my age. But I loved Gary Michael Capetta in the NWA and WCW. I thought he had a big voice and he made every match feel special, especially main events. He really put a lot into them. But hopefully one day he'll come around and realize how big the bump and feed is.
I'm going to go Michael
Hopefully, we
Buffer.
can only.
Ooh.
Even though he was never a full-time ring announcer. When I was a kid, man, watching Starrcade, watching any WCW big event, Michael Buffer coming in doing those big announcements for the main events, it just didn't get any better. I when I was a kid, I wanted to be Michael Buffer because I was too small to be a wrestler. I'm not a good talker either, though, so that didn't happen either. So I'm gonna pick Michael Buffer.
I'm gonna have to go. I'm gonna have to go with the Fink, Howard Finkel. Growing up, watched a lot of old wrestling with Dad, and obviously, if you haven't heard, if you're watching the show, you probably have. Dad has a pretty funny Howard Finkel impression that
Oh, yeah.
I grew up hearing countless times, announcing anything from dinner to my whatever video game I was playing or whatever in the Fink voice. So for that nostalgia factor, I'm gonna go with Howard Finkel.
I can't blame you. I love him too, and plus I love when your dad does the voice. So
Howard Finkel. I can't do it like he can.
He's
No,
got that. He's
it's
got a
impossible.
good Austin impression too.
He's an
He has a
impression
good
guy. I can
Undertaker.
do some, but he I think just those long car rides probably, whether it's, telling stories or whatever, just kind of mastered those voices over the years.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with my question of the week, guys. Sorry to jump the gun, but I got to go favorite gear set of all time, and I will start off with the answer and go. This has been a toss up, but I got to go Wolfpack Sting, and then I actually got a two-part answer. Halloween Havoc '97 Rey Mysterio.
Both good sets, yeah.
I would go 1990 Great American Bash.
You prick.
Sting. Was that your answer?
Well, that was my answer, but
We can have
yeah.
the same answer.
I'll probably have to think of a 1B real quick, just because I don't like when we match. What is some? I really like that Rollins set, the white and gold from SummerSlam 2015. I thought that looks really clean on him.
He always has some of them are so outlandish, but he always has some damn good gear, especially
if I
at the big shows.
could pull up 10 matches of his of different gear sets, and it would be one of those. I always love Seth Rollins gear. I think he does it as well as anybody. So, but my question of the week is going to be, what is your favorite, and have we done this yet? I don't think we have. Your favorite theme song.
If we have, I don't remember. So go ahead and kick it off. I know mine right off the bat. Don't have to think about it.
I have so many, but I'm going to have to go with my GOAT. Alter Bridge, Metalingus, Edge would be my number one.
I would, easy for me, Michael Hayes singing Bad Street USA.
I got to see him sing that live at the Hall of Fame.
Oh, shit. I remember. Actually, I watched that whole Hall of Fame recently. Yeah, I love that. Even as a kid, I thought that was a cool song. Quick funny side note, they do jiu-jitsu. They do 4-on-4, like Survivor Series style elimination, big massive tournaments. And I was gonna be in one with the teammates one time, and the guy, the black belt leading it, is a big wrestling fan. He came out to a DX theme the last time that they did the 4-on-4. He was just in control of the whole team. And I said, dude, if we do this, we got to come out to Bad Street USA, because it was in Atlanta. And he was like, oh man, great idea. And then somebody took my spot.
I will go Sting, Metallica, Seek and Destroy.
Was that That was his original theme, right?
No, that is the one that he used in it would have been late 90s. Yeah. So
Okay.
it's always for me. It's always I'll answer it tomorrow, and it'll probably be my second choice, which is Hulk Hogan's Jimi Hendrix Voodoo Child.
Oh yeah, that was
Yeah.
good.
So
That's
it's always a toss up between those two.
fun questions this week.
Good
Love
questions.
those segments.
I know I say this every week, but fans of the Bump and Feed, we do allow you guys to send in questions so we don't have to keep thinking of questions. We would much rather answer the fans' questions than answer our own on a week to week because it's becoming kind of hard because I don't remember the questions we've asked. So,
Right.
people,
And send them in, and we know you're listening. We see the numbers.
we know there's listeners, so you can't just act like no one's listening to this podcast. You got to send in the questions, guys. But speaking of the questions and the fans reaching out, Emerson, tell them where they can reach out to ask their questions.
So if you're listening on audio, BumpNFeed@gmail.com. That's BUMP, the letter N, FEED @gmail.com. If you're watching on the YouTube, it's scrolling across the bottom of the screen, BumpNFeed@gmail.com. Email questions. Even if you want to hit us up on Instagram,
Mm-hmm.
shoot a DM. If you don't want to do an email and you want to shoot a DM, I'll look at it. I'll write it down. I'll let the guys know. Just make sure you're following us on YouTube. Make sure you're following us on Instagram as well.
You can even drop a comment if you're listening on the YouTube format, and we will answer it the same. So, other than that, guys, do we want to go into the social plug?
Let's plug it. And before we plug all of our socials, guys, if you're listening to this on when it's going to drop, thank you for everybody for all of the listens all the guests that we've had. Keep listening to everybody. Next week, we're going to drop Andrew from Mabel Toys. It's going to be huge. I think that one's going to be a really fun one for everybody to listen to, especially people who are like me and love collectibles. But yeah, definitely keep an eye on all of those shows. Keep an eye on all the merch. I got some more merch stuff in the works, so it is coming very soon.
Awesome. As always, you know me, guys. Instagram _CJ Gallows. Twitter is going to be the same. You know the dilemma with Facebook. It's my legal government name. But other than me, guys, if you're listening to this and you're a fan of the Bump and Feed and the Talk and Shop Network, and you don't listen to some of the other podcasts, there is a few different shows that air under the Talk and Shop banner week to week. So make sure if you're bored at work, bored at home, just want something to pass the time, we got hours of content on the Talk and Shop Network weekly. So make sure to check out the Grunt Gang, even though we got a little rival. The Big Talk and Shop, obviously the Bump and Feed. Keep up with everything we're doing. Send in your questions. Anything you want us to react to, whatever. We want to get into some different stuff other than just the podcast format for you, short form, whatever it may be. So drop any suggestions, what you guys would like to see. And thank you guys for listening again. Cabana?
Yeah, just if you're watching, it's on the screen there. It is my government name, which has been said many times on the Talking Shop Network. It is just Andrew Hess 86. Follow me. Not a ton of wrestling content on my personal page aside from the Bump and Feed stuff, but that will change. July 11th, we'll have some more Larry Otto stuff after that show to post up. Other than that, don't really have anything.
Guys, thank you all for listening. Thank you for joining us on the Bump and Feed week after week. This has been fun, man. I'm loving doing it with these guys. CJ Gallows, the young stud, and then we got Cabana Boy over here. It's been awesome. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you guys next week.
Peace.